burned to ash by Russian missile strikes. Ukraine's heating plants and power stations. Unprecedented scale of destruction and colossal challenges the likes of which no country in the world has ever faced. Inhuman demands, working day and night in brutal frost.
We worked from 8 in the morning until at least 10 at night, soaked, frozen, your hands are freezing, but you keep working.
And under constant shelling.
The hardest part is those first moments after a strike, when you look at the work you've done, and it's been destroyed.
They are called the heroes of the home front and servants of Prometheus, the people who restore light and warmth to Ukrainian homes after Russia's brutal and cynical attacks. Watch in this special report, Titans of the Rear, how Ukraine's energy sector became its second front. Massive strikes against energy infrastructure targets. Heating plants, power stations, transformer hubs, Russia's primary targets in the Ukrainian rear during the winter of 2026, in savage frost, when sub-zero temperatures and heavy snowfall placed enormous strain on the energy grid, making restoration work all the more grueling. The result? Widespread destruction and disruptions to electricity and heating supply. In these conditions, emergency repair crews are working virtually without pause, under the threat of repeat strikes and in extreme weather. This is an emergency energy repair crew, working at one of the transformer substations in Kyiv region.
We've identified damage to the high-voltage fuses at the transformer substation.
Consumers are left without power. We'll check the equipment now and try to restore voltage to people's homes.
Under relentless Russian shelling, call-outs like this have become routine for Ukraine in the winter of 2026. Putin's army strikes even small substations. And those that survive the mass attacks are taking on additional load, as are the people who repair them.
The worst was during the severe ice storm. We worked from 8 in the morning until at least 10 at night, soaked, frozen. It was brutal. We'd find a wire that needed repairing, the insulators encased in ice. Impossible to secure the wire. We had to chip the ice off. Hands freezing. But you keep working, you even get warm from it. You come home and your face is completely red.
We restore everything. Low voltage lines, high voltage lines, transformer substations. Day and night, we do everything we can. The frost reached -25. Snow, rain, we are always on the line, always working. When we have to, we stay until the job is done.
And even after a shift, late at night, workers often come home to a dark, cold house.
What can you do? The power gets cut for us just like everyone else.
It is not only equipment that comes under Russian airstrikes and Shahed drones. The energy workers themselves are targets. In frontline zones, drones strike directly at repair crews and their vehicles. Even in the rear, call-outs to facilities frequently take place under air raid sirens and the threat of shelling.
We're driving along and suddenly, bang. At first we thought it might be lines switching over. Turned out it was shelling. But we keep going. We work. There's nowhere to stop. When we can, we take cover in what you might call trenches, a field somewhere, a hollow in the ground.
Energy workers often arrive at strike sites alongside rescue teams and police. Electrician Petro has been working in these conditions since the start of the full-scale invasion, and he has witnessed the war crimes of Putin's army more than once.
A strong army fights an army. A weak one fights civilians. They are bloodthirsty monsters. What shook me was when we drove out after aerial bombs had fallen. A 2-story house, destroyed. A person lying nearby. Children's clothes hanging in the trees. Blankets. Everything scattered by the blast wave. Nothing left of the house. Just a crater, about 8 meters deep and 5 across. A man walking around in tears. Children died there. A Russian aircraft evading our fighter jet started dropping bombs. One fell into a swamp, the second into that house.
In the 4th year of full-scale war, attacks on critical infrastructure have reached their peak. Deliberate, in winter, when temperatures dropped below -20. Heating plants and other generating facilities supplying warmth to the homes of Kyiv, Kharkiv, and Dnipro came under attack. Power distribution infrastructure was also bombed. As a result, the load on surviving facilities increased dramatically.
First, the shelling, then the freeze. People heat themselves however they can. Overloads build up and the lines go down again. Winters used to be colder, but we never had problems like this. Now the strain is colossal on the people and on the system. There's so much work, no time to rest. You push through when your body says stop.
After a series of combined attacks in the winter of 2026, Ukrainians lived for weeks with virtually no electricity. In many homes, electric power runs the stoves and the heating systems. People were not just left in the dark. For hours, days, weeks, adults, children, the elderly, literally freezing in their own apartments, unable to cook a meal. Russia inflicted a holodomor of cold on Ukrainians, stripping them of the ability to meet the most basic needs of survival. To restore electricity and heat to Ukrainian homes, emergency crews are working around the clock.
We essentially have no days off right now. We work 24/7, about a day and a half of rest, then back to 6 working days, night shifts, recovery days, then back on shift. We often arrive to find people have been without power for 4, 5, 6 days. They plead, just do something, anything, and you push through and try. You stay late. That happens all the time, and usually we manage to restore power to the area.
This crew is restoring an underground power cable line.
We got lucky today. The ground is workable. Usually it freezes 50 to 70 centimeters down. You have to use a jackhammer almost all the way to the cable. It's brutal work.
You have a cup of tea and get back at it. The shovel keeps you warm.
Sometimes they dig their own trenches and foxholes.
We lay new lines to replace the damaged ones. At CHP5 and CHP6, where everything has been destroyed, we cut out the wrecked sections and install new ones.
Peace on Russia's terms, or missile terror, blackouts, and punishment by cold. That is the choice the Kremlin is trying to force on Ukrainians, who have lived in a state of constant stress and struggle for survival since the start of the full-scale war. But every new strike only draws Ukrainians closer together and deepens their respect for the work of energy workers.
We were out on a call, wrapping up the repair, and 5 different people came over. Can we get you tea, coffee? I said, we've had enough to last us all day. People understand. They support us too. We warm up a little in the vehicles, a little from the kindness of strangers.
This is what thermal power stations look like after Russian mass strikes. The buildings and equipment are not merely damaged. They are completely destroyed.
They just flatten everything, destroy it all. No warning. A strike comes through the roof. They strip the roof, then finish off the equipment. Nothing changes. It's terrorism.
A Russian strike brought it to a halt. It now stands in ruins. For the energy workers, it is a Sisyphean battle.
The schedule is practically without days off. We work through the nights. The cold takes its toll too. It's hard. The hardest part is in the moments after a strike, when you look at the work you've done, destroyed in the space of a few minutes, and you start rebuilding everything from scratch.
Ukraine's energy workers cannot make peace with destruction and stop fighting for the light. While battles rage at the front for the integrity and freedom of the state, they hold their own line of defense.
My son has been at the front since day one. Is it hard for him? It is. Will it be hard for me here? So what? We will stand to the end. I come home. My granddaughter is there. She needs light. And it's not just my granddaughter. There are many like her. And her father is at war. So I have to take his place.
This is the Darnitska Combined Heat and Power Plant in Kiev. It supplied heat and electricity to nearly 500,000 people. The station came under several mass attacks. Dozens of missiles were fired at it. After one of the strikes, in February 2026, the destruction proved critical. The plant ceased operation entirely. Not only residential consumers were left without heat, so were hospitals, schools, and kindergartens.
It was carried out on the coldest night Kiev had seen. Temperatures reached minus 26 degrees. The station was almost completely destroyed.
The aftermath of the Russian attack on the Darnitska plant was shown to ambassadors from 60 countries. What the diplomats saw left them in shock.
I think we are at the crime scene. This is the place of a genocidal, cold-blooded, brutal, covert attack against peaceful people. We see that while we are having diplomatic discussions, crimes are being committed, and therefore this should be treated as a war crime.
War crimes are being committed against Ukrainian civilians on a daily basis. There's absolutely no justification for this. This heat plant only serves civilian purposes. There's no military value of this heat plant. These are attacks which are being directed against normal people, children, old people, which are suffering at minus 20 degrees temperatures at this point in time. They're suffering in their apartments with no heat, no water, no electricity.
International partners are sending Ukraine spare parts and equipment for repairs, transformers, mobile substations, cable, and much more, without which restoring the energy system would be impossible. Lithuania, for example, transferred equipment equivalent to an entire power station, one of the largest logistics operations in history. While Ukrainian energy workers reassemble the grid piece by piece and fight to bring it back online, generators are keeping Ukrainians going. They power hospitals, schools, and warming centers, as well as large industrial units supplying boiler houses, water utilities, and critical infrastructure facilities.
11,000 generators arrived from the European Union alone. For context, Kiev has around 6,000 residential buildings in total. So 11,000 is a significant number.
Thanks to the efforts of Ukrainian energy workers, the power system continues to function after near-total destruction, though at the very limit of its capacity. And the consequences of Russian attacks remain deeply felt by millions of Ukrainians.
There will be power cuts in Ukraine even if the shelling stops entirely, for at least the next 3 years. We must be prepared for that. Restoring generation capacity alone will take around 2 years by various estimates, and we are talking about partial, staged recovery. Full restoration of all generation will take a minimum of 5 to 7 years. As for restoring heat supply, in Kyiv, for instance, in those residential buildings in Dniprovsky and Darnitsky districts, I believe we should be prepared for the possibility that heat will not be restored to those homes before the next heating season either.
Attacks on Ukrainian energy infrastructure constitute war crimes and crimes against humanity, organized by the senior military and political leadership of the Russian Federation. The Office of the Prosecutor General of Ukraine has submitted a report to the International Criminal Court covering Russian attacks on Ukrainian energy facilities between July 2025 and February 2026. The mass strikes carried out during the heating season damaged or completely destroyed energy infrastructure across the majority of Ukraine's regions. Their intensity exceeds the combined scale of all previous waves of attacks since 2022.
No country in history has ever endured strikes of this magnitude. In 2025 alone, Ukraine's energy infrastructure was hit by more than 1,000 ballistic missiles, and several times that number of cruise missiles, not to mention drones, in the tens of thousands. Not a single European Union country, could have withstood such bombardment for more than perhaps 2 months.
Russia's attacks on energy infrastructure have clear objectives: the terrorizing of the civilian population. It is collective punishment of Ukrainian citizens and all people living in Ukraine for refusing to submit to the demands of the Russian Federation, and it goes far beyond the bounds of the Geneva Conventions, the so-called rules of war that are recognized by the entire civilized world, including Russia itself. Which is why the energy workers, thanks to whom we still have light, still have water, and for the most part still have heat, are absolute heroes.
As of March 2026, since the start of the full-scale war, 247 Ukrainian energy workers have been killed in the line of duty. The Russian army has attacked Ukraine's energy system nearly 6,000 times. Having failed to achieve decisive results on the battlefield, Moscow sought to break Ukrainians with cold and darkness. It miscalculated, underestimating the professionalism and resilience of Ukraine's energy workers. Electricians, technicians, welders, electrical engineers, operators, turbine and boiler operators, emergency repair crews. They have become Ukraine's true home front. They carry not only light and warmth, but sustain the identity and resolve of a nation facing a bloody imperial regime and its attempts to destroy Ukrainians as a people. Olga Mihalyuk, Sofia Kutsenko, Special Report.